Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking another look at redistricting around the country. We're going to be looking at some of the larger maps and the most impactful maps around the country ahead of the 2022 midterms. We'll be talking about the state of New York and the situation going on there with its districts because there was a lot of news about a week ago, basically that New York's maps have been struck down by the state Supreme Court. That isn't true. While a judge in the Supreme Court threw out the map, the Democrats are appealing to a higher court, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. We'll also talk about Maryland's new map, which has just been finalized a couple of days ago, how that's likely to pan out, and just broadly take a look at other maps around the country as, you know, we're really in the final stretch of the redistricting process. I expect maybe one or two of these maps to maybe change, but, you know, we're really waiting on just three more maps to be sent out. We have New Hampshire, which all three of these maps have been, all these states rather, have, you know, had pretty contentious redistricting processes. There doesn't seem to be a lot of agreement among the Republicans who are in charge of the redistricting process in all three of these states. So it really remains to be seen. But these maps should be out soon, maybe in the next few weeks or so, and we'll probably cover them once they do. So first, we're going to take a look at New York. Now, New York's map had, a judge had thrown out this congressional map, a Steuben County, which is a very Republican county in upstate, threw out the Democrat gerrymander of New York, basically saying that it violated the state's constitution. New York State Constitution has some of the most explicit language when it comes to gerrymandering. There have been several ballot initiatives that New Yorkers have voted on, which indicate that they do not support partisan gerrymandering, and it is in the Constitution. However, it's really on a court to decide whether this is, on the grounds of partisan gerrymandering. And I would argue it certainly is, given some of the district locations. If you know anything about New York, District 3 in New York is completely ridiculous. It goes from western Suffolk County all the way up to Westchester. That's basically an hour and a half drive, essentially. And these areas are nothing like each other at all. See, some of the parts of the district are super duper skinny just so they can get up to this super blue area in Westchester County. The old 3rd District stayed primarily in Suffolk and Nassau County and a tiny bit in Queens, but it was a compact district and I would say a very fair district. You'll notice the old New York map was a relatively fair one, and part of that is because the Republicans controlled the state Senate during this time, so they kind of had to compromise and actually make a fair map, and they did. You see Long Island and upstate are very compact and very fair maps. You look, of course, now to the new map. Some districts in New York get a lot redder. Upstate only has 3 red districts. The rest are blue districts, even though upstate New York is pretty purple. It votes about, the same as Pennsylvania, usually. So it's roughly 50-50. You have the rural areas that are obviously very red, the cities that are very blue, and obviously what makes New York a very blue state is, of course, New York City, which, tends to put Democrats in the low 60s in terms of their overall percentage of the vote. Other districts, obviously you have this one, the 16th, squiggling all the way from the Bronx up to Westchester, and even, I don't know if that touches Putnam County, but it might. Might still be Westchester, but I think it might even reach all the way to Putnam County, New York. Of course, you have the 17th, which used to be over here, more compact. Now it's a less safe district, but it draws all the way up to Sullivan County. Again, all of these areas are nothing alike each other. You have Sullivan County connected to a city district. You have city districts all over the place. Obviously, a lot of people pointed out Jerry Nadler's district, which basically just zigzags all the way around, goes from Brooklyn all the way to Manhattan. This presumably was to keep him safe during a primary, and so on. You have the Staten Island district redrawn, etc. I won't go into all of it, but, Republicans do have a decent case that this is a egregious partisan gerrymander, and, they have the state constitution obviously on their side. The main thing going against them is that New York is a blue state, and all of the appellate court justices are Democrats. They were either appointed by Andrew Cuomo or the current governor, Kathy Hochul, and obviously they're likely to side in favor of the Democrats, although I will put in the caveat that Republican courts have struck down Republican gerrymanders this cycle, and a Democratic judge out of Maryland did strike down their unfair map. So there is the potential. I don't think this is necessarily dead on arrival. I think Republicans might have a chance, although I would suspect the Democratic legislature drawing the new districts, I wouldn't expect it to be as fair as the old map, but Republicans will probably gain maybe like 2 seats out of it instead of only being stuck down to 4. So we'll probably hear about this in about 3 weeks. Judges have been hearing arguments as of today now. So the court has said that within 3 weeks they will have a ruling on whether this map is going to stand or not. Obviously, they're going to fast track it given the closeness of the midterms. Now we're going to take a look at Maryland's new districts. Maryland's new map now gives Republicans essentially the advantage in 2 districts, at least for 2022, given the political environment. They have the first district, which is a safe red district, and the second district, which is roughly even. It's R+1, so a very slight Republican advantage. The other 6 districts are safe Democratic. So this is a much better map for Republicans than the previous map, which gave Republicans only a likely district in Maryland's first, as well as the other 7 districts being safe Democratic. This was basically in line with what we saw previously. The current and soon to be former Maryland district map, which gave the Maryland's first a safe Republican district and the rest of them blue. This time they don't even give the Republicans a safe district. They incorporate parts of blue Annapolis and parts of Hartford County that are blue, these precincts over here along the Chesapeake Bay, to basically make this district a lot more Democratic. Now, it was rejected, it was thrown out, thankfully, and it was replaced with a more fair map, which now gives Republicans the potential to have 2 seats in a state that they usually get about 33% of the vote in presidential and off-year elections. So Maryland's district, this was signed into law by Larry Hogan, so this isn't going to be thrown out. Some of the other maps, Pennsylvania's map is in litigation. I don't really think this is going to go anywhere, honestly. The map does give Democrats, a slight advantage, given the makeup of the districts. But it's about even. It's about even. Honestly, a fair map would look something like this anyway. Pennsylvania's map is in litigation. Obviously, New Mexico could change, although I heard, again, this lawsuit might have actually stalled. So I don't really know where this is going. This is honestly a dummy mander in my opinion, because I believe even if this map does stand, the 2nd district will probably go red, and maybe even the 3rd district, potentially. You could see 2 Republican districts possibly out of New Mexico. Nevada, same thing. You could even see all 4 of these districts potentially go to Republicans. Although this map is in litigation, honestly, Republicans are better off keeping this map. This map is pretty good for them. All of the maps have slight Democratic advantages, but for 2022, this map is really good. And if Nevada continues shifting to the right as it has been, it probably is in their best interest to keep this map. Now, Ohio, this map still, again, could potentially be struck down. Now, this map is a very egregious gerrymander. This map really only gives the Democrats 2 districts in a state that they normally get 45% of the vote in. Now, obviously, most of Ohio's Democratic votes are concentrated in these cities, so it is kind of hard to make a 50-50 map or a 55-45 map in a state like Ohio when you have so much of the vote of the Democrats concentrated in such a small area. One of the reasons why you'll probably never see a fair quote-unquote map in Ohio, it's just because Republicans have such a geographic advantage in the state. Again, when you have districts of equal population as you do in Ohio, but these blue districts vote for the Democrats 70, 80, 90%, where the red districts are only voting for Republicans maybe 60%, you're definitely going to see a much more unbalanced map on the face of things. So Ohio has the potential to be struck down, but its replacement isn't probably going to be that much better for the Democrats. Virginia's map, this has been proved a while ago. Republicans obviously are looking really good in Virginia's 2nd district. This was a district that was just R+2 back in the 2020 election. Now it is an R+6 district. It's incorporating more red areas, basically around Hampton Roads. Obviously, you have all of Virginia Beach and some of these counties here that are much more safe red than the counties that were incorporated in Virginia's second, which had James City County, York County, and basically the Eastern Shore over here, which was much more blue, given that these areas have been voting a lot more blue in recent elections, which is one of the reasons why it flipped in 2018 and got even bluer in the 2020 election. Potentially, if 2022 is a really good year for the Republicans, potentially Jennifer Wexton's seat could be up for grabs. And the reason I say that is because back in the Virginia governor's race last fall, Glenn Youngkin, the current Republican governor, actually came pretty close to winning Jennifer Wexton's district. I have to go all the way down to find this, but Jennifer Wexton's district, her current district, is a D+12 district. It votes 12 points to the left of the nation, roughly. Now, given that, it doesn't always tend to do that, by the way. That's just how it votes usually in presidential elections, but its district elections tend to be a little bit closer. Now, Glenn Youngkin got 47% of the vote in Wexton's district. Now, he won statewide by about 2 points. So again, it's still voting to the left of the state. But again, this district went from D+12 to D+8. So potentially with the right challenger, and again, obviously with the right environment, this district could potentially be a pickup for Republicans. That would be in a best case scenario for them, which would really be very surprising because that would leave Democrats with only 4 seats in Virginia and would give Republicans the remaining 7, which would be a huge blowout. And it could potentially happen. Again, litigation could potentially throw out a map like Georgia, which, gives Republicans a huge advantage, a bigger advantage than they had in the old map. It gives them an extra safe seat and negates one of the toss-ups, which originally was, I believe, Virginia's 6th and 7th, both toss-ups. Those are out the window, and now the only real toss-up is Georgia's 2nd, which is still probably likely to go Democrat. It could potentially flip, but as of now, I think Democrats have a slight edge here. The rest of these maps we've sort of touched on a little bit. Tennessee's map I don't think is going anywhere. This is the one that divides up Nashville, pretty aggressive gerrymander by the Republicans, but I don't really see a huge appeal going on. These are basically all safe red seats, so incumbent Jim Cooper is going to lose his re-election if he is running. Kansas, we might see this map thrown out. This is debatable. The old map had Sharice Davids having a D+4 district. Now she is given an R+3. So, again, most of these districts we've talked about, I just wanted to brush up on some of those two because those two might change. Ohio might change. Kansas might change. Pennsylvania, very unlikely. Virginia, I just wanted to talk about. North Carolina I wanted to mention too. North Carolina is going to be really interesting this year because this map is actually bluer than the previous map. And this is probably the, quote-unquote fairest map that North Carolina has probably ever had in terms of the state voting about 50-50, although Republicans do tend to usually win the state regardless. Obviously, in a good year for Republicans, they're probably only going to win the 13th district, maybe the 13th and the 1st district, potentially just given the environment. But Republicans do want this map struck down. It may be struck down, but as of right now, this map will still stand for 2022. So it's litigation status. Unless something dramatically changes, I don't think this map is actually going anywhere for 2022. So again, just to summarize, maybe 1 or 2 of the finalized maps may change, but ultimately this is roughly what we're going to be looking at. Once I have all 50 states finalized, I'll start making House predictions by state, which I'm really excited and looking forward to doing. So stay tuned for those, and we will be updating any new maps that come out as they do, because we're really only waiting on 3. So anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video. Please leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you don't miss any more videos I put out. As always, again, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.